Okay, so this is Beyond User Personas using the Value Proposition Canvas. So if anybody's here for the accessibility talk, this is not the room. Although we all probably should be there. That's my main passion is accessibility. So actually I'm a back-end developer that has fallen into accessibility and UX. So that's where we're at. A little bit about me. My name's Nancie McCraw. I'm a web developer working for the National Integrated Drought Information System, commonly known as NIDIS. I am actually a contractor with Earth Resources Technology. NIDIS is a partnership organization led by NOAA through the Office of Atmospheric Research. However, OAR doesn't do websites, so they contract with NCEI here in Asheville to actually do the website. So I do drought.gov, which is really a great website to work on because everybody believes in drought. It's the least controversial climate thing ever. And this is Azrael. I stuck him in here because he always, whenever I feel bad, he's always looking over my shoulder and telling me that I'm being ridiculous. So this whole value proposition canvas came out of a system set up by a gentleman named Eric Rees. He wrote a book called The Lean Startup. It's all about applying agile principles to business startups. So The Lean Startup was the first book out. The second book is the business model canvas. What we're talking about today is how to really drill down on the needs and wants of your users or your customers as far as the business model canvas to make sure that what you're doing with your website and what you're offering matches who your users are and what they need and value. And then you can plug it into your business model canvas if you want to go that far. But one of the things that we in our shop had been yelling at for years and years and years was also something that Eric Lee says is, it's not can we build it, but should we build it? And that's always something that I'm telling my technical lead. Anybody else has that problem? Mm-hmm. Sure, we can build it. It's a really bad idea. So users, we talk about our users. Who are our users? What are their personas? User personas have been something that's been around, 5-6 years, built your user personas. This is one of my users. This is Azrael, or this is Ziggy. Anytime I telework from home, he's helping me out by making sure that he holds my hands down to the keyboard. In my shop, the users are the final arbiters of anything that we want to build. I have my ideas, my technical lead has his ideas. Our content team have their ideas of what and how and why a site or a system should do something. Who wins? The thought is our users win. The problem was until we figured out how, we never had a process to figure out what the users really wanted. We would look at analytics. The analytics would tell us what's happened in the past, kind of, but not where we should go and what they want instead. So we were looking at, okay, who our users are when we started looking at this redesign. And we went to the public law because we are appropriated through Congress. And I have somewhere, if I can figure out how to get back to my notes, I can read to you the public law that says that we should communicate drought conditions and drought impacts on an ongoing basis to public and private entities engaged in drought planning and preparedness, including decision makers, federal, regional, and state and tribal and local levels of government, the private sector, and the public. So when we went to look at the public law, we had decision makers, all levels of government, the private sector, which is, our the energy companies and water managers, and the public. So realized, okay, that's everybody. Everybody is our user. So we went to our program office and says, okay, within this, who are the really key people that we need to communicate to? And we got, well, all the senators and all the congressmen, because they're going to reappropriate us. And we need to go to all the 50 state climate coordinators and the regional coordinators and all of the people that run the river forecast centers and all the water managers of all the local and municipal water systems. And, oh, well, all the realtors, because we want to get into the real estate sector. And we ended up with a list of 53 user segments that are our users and we're key users. And we figured that was probably too much. We didn't figure we could target 53 user groups effectively. So we're working with this, and we're working with a group out of UNCA called NEMAC, the National Environmentally Modeling Assessment and something center here, and a gentleman named David Mickelson, who's really great at US. And he asked a question. He's all, so who are your pass-through users? And we're all like, what? He's all, who are the users that either without them, your whole website falls apart, or if you meet their needs, you've met the needs of almost every other user. So we realized that our regional coordinators in our program office, they use our website to communicate out. And they communicate to our political constituency. They communicate to the regional and the state decision makers and stakeholders and the other people in the drought community. And then we have this profile of the interested public. These are people that are interested in climate and environmental matters. They're usually socially or politically engaged. They may not know about drought, but they're pretty educated in general. If we reach these people, we're going to reach 95% of all those 53 people. And if the site works for these people, we're going to reach 95% of the rest of our users. So we realized that if we can go ahead and meet the needs of these two user groups, we can make sure that our site and services are going to work for the majority of the needs that we have. And once we take care of these people, we can start tackling the other 51 user groups as we get time. So how do we do this? The value proposition canvas. What this is it's a tool. It's a very graphical tool that matches our plans to our users' needs. It looks like this. Literally. You put Post-it notes on it. You have two sections. You have a section for what we plan to offer and a section for the customer or the user. And this comes straight out of the book, the Value Proposition Canvas. And you can download this onto your Google Drive from strategizer.com once you buy the book. It's like $20, and it's a really easy read. So to fill this out for our user group, we first focus on the customer side. And we do three things with our customers. We want to know what their jobs are. What do they do when they're in the office? Our regional coordinators, well, they answer email. They're going to take calls. They're going to schedule activities, so webinars and events for each of the reasons they coordinate for. They're going to match stakeholders to resources. So the drought plans to the water manager of a municipality. So these are the things they do. They're also going to pick up the kid from soccer practice. They're going to make dinner. They've got to go grocery shopping. So these customer jobs are really customer tasks. They're things our users are going to do. It's a day in the life picture of everything our user is going to do in the course of an average day. So you need to think beyond what the 9 to 5 is. It's just everything in the life. And I know when we talk about user personas, we talk about the persona of who we are in our professional life. When we do a value proposition canvas, we're really looking at the whole person. The second thing we look at is our customer gains. These are the things our customers, these are wins for our customers, things that our customer would like to have, our users would like to have, not only in their work life, but their personal life. Successes and outcomes that give them something and happy feelings. We like to concentrate on the gains more than the pains because people are positive motivated. You will reach harder for the carrot than you will the stick. So these are things like, I want a promotion. We want to get grants. We want the government to pass our appropriations bill so that we receive our funding for another 5 years. We want our son to pass algebra. Anything that would motivate that our customer wants, again, in the professional, personal life. We also talk about our customer pains. Things that frustrate or impede them from doing any of these jobs. So, when they try customer pains, the internet's slow and sometimes cuts out. So it makes it difficult to send those emails out. The kid won't do his homework. Other customer pains, specifically for our regional coordinators, is they don't have a place on our website where they can have a direct conversation with their stakeholders. Other customer pains is some of the stakeholders just don't really care. They care about their little spot, but they don't care about the larger situation. And drought doesn't stay in your zip code. Drought is a very wide-ranging thing. So if you're managing your water here, it's not going to help unless you're managing your water with the entire area that you're in. So that's some of their pains. So once we fill that out, that entire circle section, we put it away. Cover it up, don't look at it. And we look at our products and services, and this is the square side. What's the one thing that we've decided we want to offer this customer? Just one or two. How do we think this product is going to help our customer? Now, we've forgotten, and I try to get my team to fill this out first before we actually fill out the customer side, because we want to do these two exercises independently right now. How do we think this new blog section is going to create gain for our regional coordinator? Well, we think it's going to help them communicate faster ideas to our stakeholders. How do we think this product is going to relieve specific pains for our regional coordinators? Well, we think it's going to give it more effectively, it's going to relieve them from some of the emails they have to send. So that internet connectivity with all the, they can't get the emails out because of the internet connectivity issue. Well, they don't have to send so many emails because it's going to be all right there. So once we get this figured out, we're going to look at them all together. And we're going to see if the gain creators from our product and service match up with any of the gains our customers want. And we're going to see if our pain relievers match up with any of the pains our customer feels. So if we have a fit either in the gains or the pain relievers, our idea our product or service, the little piece of our website or our web page is probably going to be good. It's probably going to be effective for our user. Does that make sense?
I have a question.
Okay.
Did you ever have a case where something from your website relieved a personal life pain or augmented a personal life gain of the customer?
Yes, it saved time. So we had, and actually she's one of the big administrators in our program office. She was spending hours and hours and hours and hours entering things into Constant Contact so that she could manage that list. And we made that through the API direct linkages. And she saved something like 15 hours a week. And that 15 hours a week was time that she was able then to spend time with her family.
And school.
You know? But the big thing with the personal gains and the personal and the personal pains is something that you talk about. You're able to speak. It gives you an idea of where your customer's coming from, their state of mind. It gives you a clue to their frame of reference. So if your customer is annoyed by slow internet and the page you build for them takes 20 seconds to load, you are hitting that pet peeve of theirs every time. So if you can build a page that loads like this, you're going to relieve that pain, and it's going to probably turn it into a gain for them. So you've got that fast time. So the big thing for us, the other thing is if you work in government, this now is documentation on how we came to our design. This is how we decided by the users to come through that. And the government loves documentation. Once we get here, we can create our little Mad Lib. Our product and service helps our users who want to do this thing by reducing this pain and increasing this gain. We can specify exactly what our thing does, who it does it for, how it does it, and why. And we can tell this to Congress and ask them to give us more money. Or you can tell it to your clients and ask them to give you more money. You can vocalize and say, this is your elevator speech. So if you have any problems convincing them, this is how you can do it, really simply and easily. How do you figure out if you're right? User tests. Plug in your cat, see if the laser lights work. This is my Janie. And this is, at this point, and I submitted this for another one. This is where we do the 3 to 5 question mini user tests, usability tests. And we build this process into our 2-week sprints. We build the thing, or at least mock the thing up with a clickable mock through, and we take it to somebody that represents our user segment and says, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think it should do? Does it do what you expect? And we record that and we get the feedback. And if it does what we expect, and they really like it, we make the adjustments to make it a little bit better. And if it doesn't do it at all, we know we failed, and we go back to the start of the process and we go, okay, this didn't relieve the gain. Let's reconfigure this product. And we failed early and we failed cheaply, and we have documentation of that failure with the test. And we can go back to our value proposition and plug in the better user information, modify our product and service, and start again, and it becomes a feedback loop where we can really dig down until we have a product that really perfectly matches what our user experience should be. And this is the feedback loop. So that's kind of what I have on this. Any questions? I know I'm early. Yes?
What are your thoughts on, you said that you kind of recruit like a representative of your audience for testing.
Yeah.
In our organization, we have those representatives that like kind of work with us throughout the year on other projects.
Yeah.
Do you feel that they, like tapping into those immediate resources is accurate, like an accurate reflection of our true audience, even though they're working with us closely on other things?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, okay. So you can't have the same person test the same thing, but you can have the same person test several things for you, and they don't have to be directly your perfect example of your target user, but just close enough. So we're drought.gov. We have a lot of climate interested people in Asheville.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go down to Lord & Trade and said, hey, you got a minute? You want to take a user test? I'll buy you coffee. Or we'll just go to the break room within our building because we have a lot of climate scientists there. And they kind of know what they're doing. And they can say, hey, can you look at something for me? Now, we only have like 5 drought regional coordinators. So we're very limited in our target user base there and how we can test that. But we can say, hey, you know, and they're all through. Most of them are in Boulder, but some of them are like in LA and stuff. So we can only do it on Hangouts. Actually, we do it on Zoom because we record all our user testing so the whole dev team can look at it. And we have a spreadsheet we fill out and grade it and see, and we do a pass-fail. But yeah, we test with them and say, hey, what do you think? What do you do? You know, does this work? And make sure that we're meeting their needs. Now, the big thing, not only in the value proposition canvas, but your user testing that you have to keep in mind is you're going, no matter what you do, you're going to be introducing your own biases. You have to be aware of that, and you have to do whatever you can to try to minimize that. So you have to just make sure you're truly, so you start the canvas and you're guessing at what your customer needs, and then call your customer, and ask them questions. Hey, what do you do in the day? What kind of things do you want to get out of that? You know, what kind of things frustrate you?
So when you reach out to them for testing, then are you the line of questioning that you're asking them? Are you asking them to affirm what you built, or are you asking them what is?
So so we make either a mock-up or we'll actually build the thing, and we'll put it in front of them and say, hey, we'll have 3 to 5 questions we want to know about it, and ask them to do a user test. It's an actual user test, but instead of doing the $30,000 to $50,000 full-blown user test, we will do a simple targeted user test right at that time for just a small piece.
And how do you remove the I'm a nice person bias? Because I think that a lot of people would not, people that know you and working with you for some time, exactly as you said, they might not be 100% honest about your work.
I understand that. And there's a couple things that I've noticed with that. Part of the mini user testing is bring an observer and record it. So say, hey, will you test? Do you mind testing something for me? Have somebody there that's just, this person's going to observe what we're doing. And do you mind if I record this so that my team can review it later? And ask them to have just the free flow. We want you to just have a free flow, anything that comes to your mind. We want you to verbalize your internal dialogue so that we can make it better. You can't do, and tell them you can't do anything wrong. You know, so click on what you think you should click on, and just give us the dialogue. And they're going to try to be nice, and they are going to try to be nice. But after the first couple minutes, if you can get them with that dialogue and the fact that there's an observer that they may or may not know, and they know it's recording, they're going to start
being more honest.
They're usually, and some won't.
I think too,
but by the third person, you're gonna see trends that are more honest, and trends, you'll be able to notice the ones that are just being nice and the ones that are, the points that are just being nice and the points where there's really a problem and you need to.
I think some of our obstacles too, not only like testing for functionality, which I think that they would be pretty honest about because they're experiencing it, but like it's the awareness of the content in relation to functionality.
Well,
so that's what I'm probably more concerned with.
And
Are
there's-
they understanding what we're trying to communicate?
you will get that right up there. You will get that as soon, you just watch what they're doing. Anytime they say, you need to go into this testing that what you've done is wrong, and they're pointing out where your stuff is bad. As soon as they mention in that free flow of thoughts that I don't understand, or this confuses me, or I don't get this, they won't say anything else. I don't really understand this, but it looks pretty cool. So they'll put a positive spin on it. But you need to pick up on that, I don't understand this, and know that's there. You may have shown them this page and you want them to go to a particular area because you think this is the main key of the page. They won't even see it.
Yeah.
They'll go to another page, they'll try to go to another entire section of the website. They won't see it. Or they'll mention the functionality of the page that you're trying to test and say, oh, that looks like an ad, I don't want to click there, and they'll go to somewhere else. You'll learn really, really quick where your interface is failing.
What do you use to build out those interactive wireframes?
Pattern Lab, if we're doing a click through, we've done it with PDFs, and we've actually taken paper PDFs and printed them out so they can like click through here. And like I say, we work with NEMAC, John Fiddle, Dave Mickelson, and Carolyn Doherty. Right now is who we're working with on this. Dave Mickelson has brought this whole idea to us. But we will, some of the simpler stuff, we'll mock it up in Drupal. Some of the more complex stuff, we'll fake it through Pattern Lab because it's really pretty easy to fake stuff up through Pattern Lab. I mean, if you just have to throw something up in HTML.
Yeah.
There's also the bias of the people who are very vocal and have a disproportionate weight to what they say when it's not really as relevant as people who are quieter
Just
and
let 'em
really
talk.
understand things deeper.
Just let them talk. But they're going to give you the insights that you won't get anywhere else. Because you're doing these tests one-on-one. And they're going to give you some really, really important things that you would have missed because we're all too close to these applications. We know how they should work, so they work fine for us. In our organization, we have another team, and they fail. They're my example of failure at this. So they all want to take over software development for the entire organization. Well, my side of the organization has several pieces of software that they're refusing to let go of. They let go of one of these pieces of software a couple years ago and had this team redevelop it. And they sent over 23 requirements. This piece of software has to do these 23 things. Well, the software development team said, we're only going to make it do these 17 things because we think your other requirements are stupid. Okay. 6 to 8 months later, the software came back. It only did 14 of the 17 things.
How many things did they do well?
12. And of those 12, I would say 9 it actually did right, but it did 12, yeah. And when my department went to him and said, listen, we needed these 23, you said you would give us 17, you only gave us 14, and of those 14, 2 are broken, they said, yeah, so what's your point? So sorry. And then the software development team They don't talk to the end users. They don't talk to the people that are actually seeing this on the other side. So it was my department that had to tell the people from Congress, the people from the energy companies, the people from the news channels that they couldn't get the data in the way they wanted it anymore, or how they expected it anymore. All because the software developers decided they were gonna build it the way they thought it was, not the way the users wanted it. So that was a lesson that we took into our redevelopment and decided that we're going to build things the way the users want. We're gonna figure out what the users want first. And then make sure that throughout our process, we're making sure that everything we do is tailored to those users. And in the end, we have these canvases and we have these test results. So if anybody comes back to us and says, why is this thing the way it is? We say, well, here you go. We have the entire history of how this happened and why it happened. And this is the results. I know if you're not in government, you probably don't need that that level of documentation.
How many times do you end up iterating?
Sometimes one, I've heard sometimes many.
Also, I know this kind of user testing is a feed-forward control. How does it compare to, say, feedback cases, such as, like, do you use an analytics package to say, we can see, like, people are coming to these sections of the site or they're interacting the way we expect them to?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
I do. Definitely. It's all part of it.
Cool. What do you use? Do you use just Google Analytics or?
Yeah, we were actually required, we were mandated to use Google Analytics, and we feed into the government Google Analytics program. We are also getting, hopefully in Q1 2019, we're getting Crazy Egg, so we can start seeing heat mapping and what users are actually clicking on. We hope to start being able to do some A/B testing as well.
Oh, very cool.
But I mean, I work with scientists. My background is before my last job, my job before last, I was a data analyst for a call center. And I did the call flow and the workflow management there. So I want to see the analytics. I want to see the statistics. I want to see how things are moving and where the users are coming from and where they're going. And I think I'm one of the biggest proponent of analytics. Now, Google Analytics has some faults, and there's some analytic packages that I probably like better, but we use the tools we have.
Or in this case, mandated, right?
Yeah. Well, the great thing about it being mandated is that it's provided for us without it coming out of our own budget. So, once again, you use the tools you have.
Okay.
Now, Google Data Studio has some really interesting visualizations you can do on top of the analytics to provide a compelling story to management and stakeholders that way. Has anybody here used Google Data Studio? Has anybody here heard of Google Data Studio? And the great thing about Data Studio is you can combine it with other you can pull in a spreadsheet and combine your analytic data with other data. See if you have something going on during the same time period within the organization that you want to provide to overlay on top of the analytic data. One thing I noticed about our site a couple years ago is our Google Analytics will forecast drought. I can forecast drought. I can predict drought in a state 7 to 10 days before it will show up on the U.S. Drought Monitor.
I was going to say, because in this case, I'm guessing all the local people already see it there and they're looking for information.
They'll start hitting our state pages right before, because the Drought Monitor is a lagging indicator by about 10 days. It comes out on Thursday. It's affected the Tuesday before, but it's showing the previous week. But once it starts getting drought in that area, especially if it's a fast emerging drought, people start coming to our state pages wondering what's going on. And I'll see that spike in traffic, especially if it's not California, because California is always our biggest state page. If something tops California, we know there's a problem.
What sort of mapping software do you use to communicate with your users? I mean, what software do users like the best that you found out?
Well, that's tough. So we do like data visualizations.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been using Leaflet and we've been using it badly. We are over dependent on maps. And that's because we have 2 GIS developers and our team lead is a former GIS developer. And so we're trying to communicate how things have happened over time through maps, and we're trying to communicate intensities. Right now, I'm fighting for a dashboard of effective visualizations that aren't maps. But we've been using Leaflet. Leaflet is great for certain things, but it doesn't have the accessibility component we need. So we're looking at, when we do our rebuild, we're looking at switching to open layers, because it has a lot more ability to be accessible with the keyboard only commands and some screen reader stuff built into it that Leaflet doesn't, that we would have to hack and hand code ourselves. In addition to that, we're looking to add D3 and C3 components to do some additional visualizations that will tell the story more compellingly and more completely. Do what?
So thank you.
D3?
Yeah,
No.
what is D3 components?
It's D3 is just the charts and maps and stuff that's JavaScript based. It's a library. I want high charts, but I can't get anybody to buy it for me.
Do you have any plan to get other types of images that are not computer generated?
So there is a system from the National Drought Mitigation Center called the Drought Impact Reporter. So people go and they say, okay, in my yard it's dry and stuff, and they'll upload images. Right now, none of those images are being used because nobody has a way to really vet them and do stuff. We're hoping to be able to take those images and try to screen and vet them and bring them in a way that we can make compelling stories with them.
Yeah, exactly. Stories. That's
Yeah.
something that I expected to hear a bit more. In
But
this.
that drought impact reporter, I mean, people are saying, hey, I'm in extreme drought and this is what my yard looks like. And they're uploading these images of drought in their area. And right now, those images aren't being used in a way that really communicates what drought is and what drought means. And we're hoping to be able to tie into that.
I think as Google has some deep learning and AI type stuff,
Yes.
analytics and looking at stuff. Have you looked at any of that and whether or not that data can be automatically gathered through AI to give you?
So not through NIDIS or NCEI, but Earth Resources Technology has entered into a partnership with IBM, and we're going to be working with Watson to help Watson understand climate data and how to process and use climate data better, because they have it and they're starting to do pretty well with weather data, but they don't understand the specific needs of climate data. So as part of Earth Resources Technology, what we do is we provide science and technological support to government organizations, mainly NASA and NOAA. We're uniquely qualified to be able to say, we understand climate data. And so we've entered into this partnership with IBM to help train Watson to understand these things. So yeah.
Another thing, I've been doing a lot of research lately into soils and climate and the collapse of civilizations and all of that, how, for instance, the destruction of mycelium and humus in the soil led to the Dust Bowl,
Yep.
for instance, and how, we used to live in Washington State, and when we lived there, we watched the whole state get clear cut from as far as you could see from an airplane.
Mhm.
And then the whole climate changed. They had floods, they had droughts in Seattle, crazy things going on because somehow public policy is allowing things to happen which should never happen.
That's an entirely different story. That's an entirely different conversation. We inform decision makers, we don't make the decisions.
But is this do decision makers even have any idea what's causing the causative factors? I mean, you can report on climate change and so forth. But nobody's looking at causative factors that I see very much.
We have an entire section out in Boulder that's studying paleoclimatology. And that's part of it. And actually part of our reauthorization bill is developing a soil moisture network. And that's part of it. So there are a lot of factors, and that is being researched and studied. But once again, the decision makers need to take that research and use it to inform their decisions. And that's the part that we don't do. We say, this is the information, and we put it out there.
This is what's going on after the fact. But it doesn't link back to
You
causation.
get there.
Well, no, it does. It does. The research about what causes it is there.
So somebody else is covering that base?
No,
Somebody else is covering that causation base and leading it back to the decision makers?
So I have to be very careful with what I say in this. That is a known factor. And there has been research and studies based on, especially right now, especially with wildfire. Last year was the year of wildfire, and they call it fire weather. And how drought feeds wildfire, which feeds drought, which feeds wildfire. So all of these things are connected, and that climatology is an interconnected ecosystem. You clear cut the forest, you're going to spawn these types of things. So this research is being done. It's being done both within the government and without the government, and this information is being presented to decision makers. Now, what the decision makers decide to do with that information, if anything, is another story.
Yeah, I mean, does it